I want to let you in on a little secret, a life lesson, something that if you can learn today at your age and you can kind of master this, maybe in the future you'll be better off. And you can think back to this day and think back about how I saved you a lot of heartache and headache. So, it's called the imposter syndrome, and it's something that can bind us. It can kind of shackle us in life. It can hold us back, that we can't live out our full potential perhaps. And so let's dive in. We all have those voices in our heads, those voices that say, you're right, or you're wrong, or you're good, or you're bad, or what you're doing is tasteful, or what you're doing is cheesy. It's that kind of running narrative in you, right? That always just chisels away or builds you up. We're not sure. It depends on which voice you're listening to. Well, we kind of all know that that typical cartoon depiction of having a devil and an angel on your shoulders. Maybe you've seen a cartoon or an animation like this. This is from The Emperor's New Groove, and there's one side that's telling you to do something, and the other one's saying no, it's not a good idea. And which one do you listen to? And the one that you listen to will make a big impact on the decision that you make. Well, this can be a paralyzing thing. So yeah, we call it the imposter syndrome. I'm loosely basing it on this, and that's that the imposter syndrome is basically that feeling that you build up inside of yourself, that voice that talks to you, that makes you feel like you're an imposter in a situation. It maybe as a student, it would tell you, don't answer that question out loud. Like, don't raise your hand. Don't try, because everyone else has the right answer, but not you. Maybe it tells you that you don't belong in a certain situation, so why would you approach that person? Why would you get to know someone? Why would they want to get to know you? Because you're the fraud here, right? Or why would you sing in front of others? Why would you try? Why would you try singing better? Others do that well, don't they? Not you, not me, just others. I mean, you are the imposter in this situation, that you're pretending to know the answers, you're pretending to know how, and yet somehow you feel like you're the imposter here. So what it is that you have this notion of what you know, and you have a notion of what others know. And what you know certainly has got to be smaller in comparison to what others know. Like everyone around you in your class, or everyone around you in your friend group, or everyone around you at your workplace has got to know way more than what you know. I mean, that's just got to be true, right? Probably not. See, the actual truth is this, is that what you know is pretty much the same amount as what other people know. And maybe there's like overlap, that you know some things that others don't, and and there are things that you know that others do, and then there's things that you know that others don't, and there's things that other people don't know that other people know that you don't as well. But the point is that we have this built up notion about what others know and what we know, and we don't always look at it truthfully. Let me give you an example, or some time when I felt like I was an imposter in a situation where I didn't belong. Do you know what that's like? I belong to a group of educators called the Apple Distinguished Educators. And I was invited to go to a meeting in Austin, Texas, to be part of a special committee in this program. And so I'm in Austin, Texas, and there's people around the table from pretty much all over the United States and all over Canada. And we had to introduce ourselves. I was not the first person to go. So I'm like listening to people introduce themselves, and they've been either teachers longer than I have, or they seem to be doing really cool things, or they're now like a principal in their board, or they're this or that, and they've accomplished this or that. And I'm starting to think, what am I going to say about myself? Because I'm an imposter here. I don't belong here. These people are great. And what am I? Right? I felt like an imposter, like I didn't belong. But at lunch break, we were all talking, and everyone was saying, wow, when everyone was giving their introductions, I was so scared because I was like, what am I doing here? Why was I invited? And that was the common thread in everyone's story that day, that everyone felt like an imposter in that situation, that everyone else belonged, but not them, not me. Have you ever felt like that? I know there's many reasons why people would feel like not part of the circle, and I'm sorry if you've ever felt like that. But there are situations where I think we can all relate to something similar to mine that I just explained. But maybe there's been a situation like in class where you felt like that, like everyone else knew the answer, why didn't you? Or maybe you did know the answer but you didn't want to answer, right? Or maybe you felt like that on a sports team. Well, I'm not going to ask the coach a question because it's just a stupid question, isn't it? Or in my friend group, or at a job, like everyone else seems to know what's going on, but maybe they feel exactly like you. When it's us in the spotlight, we start picking apart at what we're doing. We start thinking everyone else must be judging us right now. Everyone else is really watching every move we make, and everyone notices everything we do. It's simply not true. It's hard to believe, but it's just not true. So what would it take for you to feel like this? What would it take for you to feel this confident, this ready to attack a problem, this ready to live life, this ready to kind of just put yourself out there? What would you be able to do if you felt like that? Like, if you felt like this person is at least posing like, what do you think you could actually accomplish? Think to yourself what your personal answer would be. So the question is then, how do we fight the imposter? So I'm going to kind of twist this around for a second. Like, the imposter could be someone who's that voice on your shoulder, right? Who makes you feel like an imposter. And so they're like kind of imposing on you. Well, how do we fight that? How do we get over that? How do we become better than that voice? Well, first, you have to know his strategy. You have to know the strategy of the imposter. That this imposter wants you to think that you don't know enough. He wants you to think that you can't do it. And he wants you to think that you will sound stupid or look stupid if you do try something. There's many other things that the imposter wants you to know. But if you know these things, if you know that that's his purpose, is to make you feel these things, then you're already gaining power over him. The other thing is that you don't owe him any airtime. I mean, haven't you spent enough time listening to those voices? And what if you changed the narrative and said to yourself, no, I'm not going to listen to that, and I'm kind of going to push through. Now, you can't solve all of life problems just like that and just say, I'm just going to push through. But maybe you can choose that one voice that you've been listening to, that one sentence that keeps on repeating, and maybe you're going to push through that one. And the other ones you'll work on next time, right? And third, maybe you need to envision like what you would do if you didn't feel like one. Like, if you didn't feel like an imposter in a situation, then what could you do? I already asked you that question a few slides ago. But if you can envision that, if you can see that in your head, kind of like a dream of yours, like, wow, if I didn't feel like an imposter, I would try harder in that class. I would apply for that school after high school. I would apply for that job. What would it be? And if you can see that in your head, then you can kind of, again, diminish that voice of the imposter and build yourself up so that you can actually overcome that. There's countless examples of famous and successful people that have encountered this. And my guess is that 98% of people feel this at some point in their life, if not for a long time in their life. And you look at Michelle Obama, who are like, we don't even have to prove it. She's a successful person, and she's well spoken. She's highly intelligent and highly admired. And here's what she said, or here's a quote about her. She's, the former First Lady has spoken about and written about how, as a young woman, she used to lie awake at night asking herself, am I too loud? Too much? Dreaming too big? And then she says, eventually I just got tired of always worrying what everyone else thought of me, she said. So I decided not to listen. Now that seems like maybe a simplistic answer. I decided not to listen. But that decision might have been one she made every day. That every day she had to say to herself, no, I'm not going to listen to that voice. I'm not an imposter. I'm intelligent enough to speak into this situation, and I know enough to solve this problem, and right? So it might be a daily thing that she had to say to herself. So what could you do for yourself here in this classroom, in vocal music, or in life, but we're going to apply it to vocal music? Well, one thing would be you could practice, right? The better prepared you are, the less the imposter syndrome can be at work in you. Like, if you knew your stuff and you're ready to perform, whether it's for a recording or live in class, you would feel less like an imposter, hopefully, because you're like, no, I've practiced. I know this song. And you could practice in front of other people. This will lessen the impact too. If you can kind of have that trusted friend that say, hey, can you just listen to me sing this song? Because I have to do it for class, or for a recording later on. So I just need practice feeling a little bit more nervous than usual. And again, you're going to diminish that voice that says, well, you're not part of this club that can perform. You are a part of the club. You just have to kind of start believing it more. And you could take risks together as a group, right? You can decide to trust each other. You can decide that maybe you all have this a little bit of this imposter syndrome working in you, and you can take risks and say, well, if I sing louder, so will my neighbor. If I try that harmony, maybe my neighbor will back me up, right? And you can encourage one another. You can decide as a group that you're going to be each other's kind of number one fans in some way. Whether it's encouraging someone after their performance, if after you've heard a file or whatever, it could be just encouraging them while we're doing singing, and you're like, oh, I could hear your notes, and man, you're sounding great. Whatever that is, you can find a way to encourage one another. So I'm not pretending to solve this issue, this thing for you that you will feel at some point in your life, most likely, or if you already feel it now. I'm not pretending to solve it for you this easily with just this little talk, but it's something to be aware of, and it's something to work towards not feeling the effects of this, and to kind of, as Michelle Obama said, just stop listening and stop caring about that voice, right? And my goal for you in this class would be to not feel the effects of this, because I have felt this. I still do occasionally, and I still work at it, and I wish I didn't. And so let's kind of encourage one another in this journey. Thanks for listening.